Hello everyone, my name is Filip Rakowski and welcome in the next video about Vue Storefront Next. In the previous video I gave you a brief look at what Vue Storefront Next is and about each of its parts, so if you haven't watched it, please do this. Quick reminder, Vue Storefront Next is a set of independent packages that can be used independently or work together as a fully featured e-commerce application. So it's kind of an opposite what we have right now. Right now Vue Storefront is a single monolithic application, and Vue Storefront Next is a set of packages that can work together but doesn't need to. So you're picking only what you want. And those packages are API client, Composables, Storefront UI and Theme, which is kind of a glue for all of that. And today I want to focus on API client. So API client, as we know from the previous video, is a tiny abstraction layer over your network calls that gives you full control and flexibility over how and from where you get this data. So to set it up is pretty easy. You're just importing the setup method, passing your API URL and some options depending on the integration. And once you do this, you have full access to all the methods that are giving you products, category, and everything other entities from an e-commerce platform in a declarative API. Under the hood, functions from API client could look more or less like that. API client is usually not used directly in the UI, even though it can be. And for example, if you have a React application or any other application, you can use API client because this is a vanilla JavaScript application. But API client methods are used in the Composables. So Composables are used in the UI. So you can think about API client as a safe and flexible data layer for your Composables. Now let's take a look how usually flow of getting data from your theme to the API client look like. So in the theme we are using Composable. In that case we are using search method from useProduct. Then Composables under the hood is calling getProduct from the API client. Then as a response from the API client we are getting products. And Composable is enriching it with some additional reactive data that is available in the theme. So it could be loading, error, or some other stuff. By default, API client is using API endpoints or GraphQL endpoint from your e-commerce platform. Your e-commerce platform could be Magento, Commerce Tools. So we'll be calling API endpoints directly from it. But we are aware of the fact that e-commerce platforms rarely work like that. In your projects, you usually need to fetch data from different third-party services. So a third-party service for reviews, sometimes external PIM. So to give you flexibility of using all of the tools, but still leveraging our API client, we made all of its methods overridable through override method. Let's take a look how it could look like. First, we need to import override function from API client. Then, inside of this, we have an object. And in this object, we are just passing certain functions that we want to override. For example, in this example, we are overriding default getProduct method. And we can, for example, use some external API to fetch products, like PIM. In that case, all of the other methods from the API client will work as previously, but getProduct will fetch our products from different service. Sometimes you might want to only enrich your data. So you want to keep the basic functionality, but for example, fetch reviews. So only a part of your data entity from the external service. In that case, you can call a super method, which will invoke the default version of this API client method, and then do something with the response. Every overridable method is typed, which means you don't need to worry actually if you will break the Composables or if you will break the UI. Every method has its TypeScript type, and override function is making sure that you are following this type. So if you will stick to that, the only place where you need to make changes is actually this override function. So it's very, very safe. That's it for today. As you have seen, API client is pretty simple concept but very powerful because it gives you a full flexibility over how you get the data, from where you get the data, and what is more important, it makes it in a very safe way, so you don't need to make changes in any other layer of your application. Please give me your feedback on our Slack or in the comments under this video, and if you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer them.